Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL. Today, we've got a full slate of updates to break down for you. This is the 149th episode of Hawks Latest presented by FanArt. So, hopefully, you guys have been enjoying the ride. I know I have, but like I said, we got a whole lot to break down today. So, before this video gets started, if you guys could go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. It would go a very long way. And you know, the first segment of today's episode is not the most exciting because the Hawks lost again. We are in the midst of a losing streak. It was Tuesday night, just last night. The Hawks suffered another frustrating loss, and conveniently, it came to the exact same opponent. They fell 126 to 123 in a game that Atlanta seriously controlled. You know, despite strong performances once again from Jalen Johnson and Trae Young, it just wasn't enough to get it done. It actually included a fourth quarter collapse. They could not close the game. It extended their losing streak to 4 games. The Hawks are in the midst of a legitimate losing streak, and the vibes cannot be worse. I mean, wow. I mean, this is not a good time right now. This December has been the month from hell for the Atlanta Hawks, and they're dropping. This drops them to 0-3 against the Chicago Bulls this season. And I don't want to spoil too much, so we're gonna have a full breakdown of that game in the first segment. But yeah, so after we talk about that game, which is gonna take up a little bit of time, we'll break down the Hawks actually making a signing. They brought in a guy named Malik Williams. He's a big. He could be a valuable front court ad moving forward. So I think Atlanta got that guy on a good bargain. So that will be interesting. But we're gonna break down why their decision to sign him could prove to be an effective one. And then in the third segment, we're going to shift to Asa Newell, who has been like a lone bright spot in the midst of this deflating play. He's been killing it, specifically in one category of his game. His three-point shooting has quietly become one of the most impressive rookie storylines in the league, and really one of the most impressive storylines in the league, considering the type of prospect he was entering the NBA and just how much he's grown in his first season. Then at the very end, we're going to wrap things up with a very interesting segment. We've talked about the Pelicans pick before, Atlanta owning that 2026 draft pick. But there are some, we've been real confident. Well, I say we, it's really just been me. I've been super confident about this pick landing in like the top 2 or 3. But the Pelicans are really starting to look pretty decent. They're starting to win games. And so I'm going to talk about why their recent winning streak seriously impacts Atlanta and why this draft asset is becoming, increasingly a little more concerning instead of that beautiful asset that we once figured that it would be. So let's waste no more time in the intro because I know that was a lot. But we're going to start with Tuesday night in Chicago, which was last night. And this loss followed a very, very familiar and increasingly troubling script for the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, it's funny because like the late game scenario that we saw last night was pretty much the exact same as the one from 3 nights ago, which was the first matchup against the Chicago Bulls in this back-to-back against the Bulls. Now, obviously, it wasn't their first matchup against the Bulls this season, but, in the stretch of games where they're playing them 2 times in a row. And yeah, both games kind of looked exactly the same other than the fact that in this second one, Atlanta kind of controlled the game for most of the night. The Hawks fell 126 to 123, and they surrendered an 18-point second quarter lead. And that's what really makes it different because in that first game, the Bulls really kind of controlled the tempo, controlled the pace, and beat Atlanta badly until like the final quarter where Atlanta made a little bit of a run. In this one, Atlanta controlled the game for most of it, and that makes this loss even more disappointing. The Hawks even had a 15-point advantage late in the third quarter, and with under 6 minutes to play, they had a 10-point cushion. So there was no excuse to lose this game. Usually I am like very much a positive light like after games like this with close losses because I can always find, a lot of positives to take away from it. And I can find positives to take away from a game like this. However, it's just there's no reason that they should have lost. It's inexcusable, if you will. Chicago closed the game on a 19-6 run, just a complete collapse from the Atlanta Hawks. It completely flipped momentum in the final stretch, and it was extremely deflating. If we look at some of the Bulls and how they did, it was once again dictated by Josh Giddey, who might be one of those dudes who just has great games against the Hawks. I mean, now this isn't to discredit the season that Giddey's been having because he has been incredible, honestly. Like, he has been really good. He has outperformed expectations, and he has really kind of proven a lot of people wrong in this league. But he was the engine behind really both of the Bulls' wins against the Hawks in recent days, but really behind the Bulls' comeback last night. He recorded a 19-point, 15 assists, 11 rebound, triple-double. And he had that triple-double, like, locked up early in the game. It was, like, not long after halftime. I can't really remember. Like, it was either, like, late in the second quarter or it was, like, early in the third quarter when he just locked down his triple-double. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, he got it really early, and he was really just kind of keeping Chicago afloat. And then, yeah, he was kind of crushing it in the late game scenarios. I know he had this one play where he kind of took Trey to the basket pretty easily, and then converted a lay pretty much on top of him, and he did the too small motion, and he was like, he's tiny. That was I hated seeing that. I know y'all know I hated seeing that. But yeah, this triple double for Josh Giddey was his 7th of the season, and it's actually the second most in the NBA, behind only Nikola Jokic. So 2 triple double kings right there. I think after it, I don't know if Jalen's third, but I don't think he's far off, because Jalen has 6, and he probably should have had 7 last night, but he ended up not getting it. I mean, he was 1 away from a triple double, and you know how many times Jalen has been like 1 away from a triple double, whether that was in the assists or rebounds category? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's been several times in this early season, so that number should be higher. But that's really not important. But yeah, in this game, Giddey dictated the pace. I mean, he was punishing a lot of defensive breakdowns, like the one I mentioned with Trae Young, and he repeatedly found wide open shooters as Atlanta's rotations broke down. I mean, Giddey's growth as a playmaker has been remarkable. I mean, he's good, man. He's probably going to make his first All-Star appearance this season. I think he probably deserves to be in that All-Star game. Both him and Atlanta's Jalen Johnson will probably be making their first All-Star appearances this season. And also for Chicago, you can't forget about Kobe White, the UNC alum, who routinely also plays well against the Hawks. He finished with 24 points, but none of his points were bigger than the tie-breaking free throw with 1.9 seconds remaining after he was fouled by Zachary Risachet. And it was clutch execution late at the line from the Bulls. Nikola Vucevic added 21 and 10, and he was one of those dudes who also knocked down some late game free throws. Chicago improved to 3-0 against Atlanta on the season, so the Bulls and the Pistons are the 2 teams this year that they simply just have Atlanta's number. These 2 teams are our kryptonite, and the Bulls, that's not a team that you want to have such a poor record against, because this is a team where late in the season, if the Bulls make a little bit more of a run and the Hawks kind of stay around 500, which would be ultra disappointing considering all the hype heading into the season, they could be similar in the standings. They could be close, and the Bulls pretty much have this season series now, and so it's going to be really difficult for Atlanta if they're close in the standings late in the year. Just putting ourselves into horrible situations just based off of horrible late game execution. I mean, it's really, really frustrating. The individual performances last night from Atlanta, though, were not the issue. Jalen Johnson was outstanding, as he has been really all season. He posted 24 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. As I said, 1 away from a triple-double, because that's just Atlanta's luck. Trae Young was solid. I mean, he had some poor shot selection late in the game. I don't think that's too controversial to say. But he still had a great overall game. I feel. I mean, he had 22 points and 15 assists, and only 1 turnover with those 15 assists. So I mean, that's pretty good. You cannot, overstate his impact as a playmaker and what he's bringing to the offense. But yeah, some of the late game shot selection was a little bit frustrating, but he's still getting accustomed back into the rotation. I mean, we've talked about why we can't panic too early in the first few games after Trey's coming back, because he's a guy who requires a lot of adjustment from the team to fit his play style. So it's going to take a minute, but I liked what I saw from Young and Johnson last night. And so Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who also had a pretty good game. I mean, he's looking like someone who's a lot more comfortable in the starting lineup, because he started in the game in place of Dyson Daniels, who was injured. But he hit a driving layup with 1.9 seconds left to tie the game at 123. And this kind of gave Hawks fans hope. Okay, we're going to OT. But yeah, the closing execution was simply not there, because after Alexander Walker's basket, and I'm sure you all remember this late game sequence if you were watching last night, the Bulls advanced the ball using the timeout, and on the ensuing inbound sequence, Zachary Risachet fouled Kobe White before the pass. And I say fouled because Kobe White flopped, but he knew that he was going to get the whistle against a second-year player like Zachary Risachet, who already doesn't get a very even whistle. But yeah, that wasn't a foul, but it's still like come on, like just super frustrating. And Zach was frustrated. Zach was really frustrated all night. But honestly, and a lot of people have been placing the blame of this game on Risachet, but it wasn't his fault, us losing that game. I mean, he actually, last night, I think he played pretty well. He's been pretty solid against the Bulls just in general this year. But I think he had a pretty good game last night. I think it was one of his best games in recent memory, which it's saying something. But yeah, like he was. I think he was impactful. I mean, he's knocking down the three. I mean, he was looking solid defensively. But yeah, this late game foul was crucial, whether you believed he fouled him actually or not. That sent White to the line for that single free throw that we talked about earlier. He converted. The Hawks then fouled Vucevic on the next inbound. He calmly knocked down both attempts with 1.5 seconds left, and Alexander Walker got a chance at a heave, which he obviously missed, and yeah, it never stood a chance, and the Hawks ended up losing. This final sequence really highlighted the Hawks' ongoing issues, situational awareness that has been crucial late in games, really this whole season. Late game discipline and defensive composure. I mean, the defense this year has just been rough. They played a pretty good defensive, overall defensive game, but it just couldn't lock in when it mattered. And yeah, adding to the challenge, Atlanta was dealing with injuries. They were a little shorthanded. They were missing Dyson Daniels, who is their starting two guard, who has been struggling offensively this season, but missing that defensive presence is one that you don't really recover from. It was due to a right hip inflammation, so we'll manage his availability moving forward, because that's a thing on the injury report that wasn't there prior, so that's a little concerning. And yeah, his absence was seriously noticeable. I mean, particularly on the perimeter when Chicago just repeatedly found open looks in the late game. And there was also, I forgot to mention, there was also that brief point midway through the fourth quarter when Trae Young and Ayo Dosunmu exchanged shoves. Trae kind of smacked him on the rear end as he was walking to the bench, and Ayo took real offense to it. He got all up in Trae's face and of course did nothing. And so then it allowed for everyone to run off of the free throw line and kind of get involved. And so that resulted in a double tech. And it was a moment that kind of underscored the emotional tension surrounding this Hawks team during a 4-game skid. And so hopefully up next weekend, kind of start to build a little bit more momentum, get out of this losing streak, just see a win. And I think you can gain a lot of momentum there, get over 500 again, and then we move from there. But yeah, ultimately, this loss was not about effort or star production or really anything. It was about late game execution, and the Hawks simply did not do that. It's a theme that just continues to define Atlanta's season. But let me know your thoughts down below on the game last night. So now we are going to move on from a loss to, a team making roster moves. And that's what the Atlanta Hawks did recently. So in response to an immediate glaring roster flaw, the Hawks made a necessary move by signing center Malik Williams to a 2-way contract. As we all know, the Hawks had a 2-way contract that opened up when they waived Jacob Toppin, who recently went down with that torn labrum that ended his season. So they waived him, and then they picked up Malik Williams. Also, they have the Elianjai contract situation because he's also out for the season. I mean, we should have had a whole segment about this today, but N'Faly Dante is out for the season with the torn ACL. So I mean, what is going on over in the College Park pipeline? We've praised College Park a whole lot, but man, these guys are just going down with season-ending injuries, and that is not good. But whatever. Malik Williams is a guy who I like in terms of using one of the open two-way slots, the newly open two-way slots on. If you look at it, he's not young. I mean, he's 27 years old, but he is, if you look at him on paper, he's 6'11" and 250 pounds. Just kind of the exact size you want out of a big man. And, simply by just existing at that size, getting added to Atlanta's front court room, he immediately fills Atlanta's currently most pressing need: true center depth. Because, yeah, for some reason, once again, Atlanta doubled down in the offseason and made it so, we're not going to have any problems in the front court ever again. They brought in a lot of guys, they let Mo Gay kind of blossom into a backup forward, and then they drafted Asa Newell, and then they brought in Kristaps Porzingis and N'Faly Dante. Somehow, some way, Atlanta having a thin front court is just inevitable, I guess. And so so bringing in another stable body into this front court rotation, and I say rotation, but he's not going to play really ever. But maybe he's going to be an emergency big. But yeah, the Hawks front court situation right now is seriously rough, and that's no testament to the guys who are playing every night and just giving us consistent minutes and looking good, like the guys like Jalen Johnson or Onyeka Okongwu, or even Mo Gay, who's been healthy really all season. He just missed last night, and then did I say Asa Newell? I don't know if I said Asa Newell or not, but Asa Newell has been, a reliable option as well. But yeah, Kristaps just simply cannot be relied upon nightly or really ever due to health concerns. I mean, he's creeping up on those 2 weeks so we're gonna get an update on him soon. So be sure to be on the lookout for this on this channel, because we will, as soon as we get a KP update, we will let you guys know what it is. But it leaves Atlanta with Johnson and Okongwu and Gay and Newell. And so they're not going to play Johnson a whole lot of minutes at center. They've been testing out Gay and Newell at the 5, really specifically Newell at the 5, but, those minutes have looked pretty rough defensively. And so, the issue is only one of those players is a traditional center. And Onyeka Okongwu, as we know, is not the biggest guy. He's 6'8". He's been great all season. He truly has. This is no slander towards Onyeka Okongwu. But, when we have our 7'2" guy that we brought in the offseason, when he's down, then all of a sudden it's like Atlanta's front court room is really thin, and they're very much undersized, and that is not ideal. You cannot be undersized down low in 2026's NBA. Just having Okongwu consistently battle the league's biggest fives is unrealistic. I mean, especially when we're going against guys like Wemby, or even a guy who's not giant but still a force, like Ivica Zubac, just kind of using him as an example. And Mo Gay has length. I mean, he's definitely there in the height, but he's skinny. He weighs 210 pounds, and so he's lighter than Okongwu. And I mean, Asa Newell is that 20-year-old rookie who, his minutes at the 5, he's simply not there to anchor the paint yet. I mean, he's someone who, defensively, those minutes have really suffered. And so this was never the plan. I mean, Okongwu was supposed to be Porzingis' backup this season, but I mean, we knew what we were getting into. We knew Okongwu would inevitably end up starting many games. I didn't think it would be this many this early in the season, but we knew that Porzingis was not going to be a super reliable option. But enter Malik Williams. Now, I'm not going to sit here and hype up Williams to be this prospect that he isn't. I'm not saying that he's going to be this guy that's super important in the front court rotation down the line, but having a big body, he is going to be what we really kind of expected N'Faly Dante to be this season. But as we all know, N'Faly Dante tore his ACL and he's out for the year. So, but Williams is in his 3rd professional season with an extensive G League experience, and also 7 NBA games under his belt. Not many, but maybe he can surprise a lot of people in Atlanta in his limited minutes. I don't expect him to get a lot of minutes ever, but because if he does, that means Atlanta's front court room is legitimately depleted. And as the starting center for the College Park Skyhawks, which, as we know, success in the G League with the Skyhawks usually translates to, at some point, some sort of success in the NBA. Success is different for everyone. We're talking role players or we're talking stars, and obviously we're not looking for this guy to be a star. But as the starting center for the Skyhawks, he's averaging 16 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game. And he provides legitimate size, rim protection, and rebounding. All the things that this Hawks team kind of needs. They need a reliable paint presence. They need someone who can be a big body and get boards and just finish lobs and everything of that nature. That's why guys have brought up guys like Daniel Gafford or Ivica Zubac as potential trade targets, because these are all things Atlanta lacks. I mean, even more importantly, Williams is not just a traditional role big that a lot of Hawks fans for some reason love. And also, I mean, I see why, but also we all know what succeeds in today's NBA, because he fits the stretch 5 mold that general manager Anzi Saleh has prioritized. I mean, this is a guy who's attempting 6.9 threes per game this season, hitting 33% of them. Kind of a weird splits right there. I mean, he's not someone who that volume is really high. Almost 7 threes a game and only knocking down 33%. I mean, that the ability to just let it fly, the confidence to let it fly. I mean, that's remarkable. Quinn Snyder's gonna love that, which is why I'm kind of thinking of him as a guy who could inevitably get some minutes, because if he's going to let it fly while also being a steady rebounder, we know Porzingis is not a great rebounder. We know Kongu's undersized. Maybe this guy can become something in the big leagues. It's not an elite number, but it's functional. Last season he had a smaller role in the G League, but he shot 40% from 3 on 3.5 attempts. So he has shown that he can be consistent. While he's not been consistent this year as much, he's shown that he can be. And so, yeah. To summarize, Malik Williams, he's not going to see heavy usage early on, but in a case of an emergency, he gives Atlanta a playable physical option at center, which is something that they simply did not have. His NBA debut years ago came during chaos in Toronto, but Atlanta presents a much more stable environment for him to eventually. I mean, if you're a big man, being in Atlanta should be your dream because, this roster is set up for big men to succeed. So it's not a splash move. However, it is a survival move, and right now, survival is what matters. So now moving on to another person in the front court rotation, we've got to talk about a specific skill that rookie Asa Newell has been absolutely killing it at. And he's seriously, I mean, in the midst of this 4-game skid, there's a lot of doom and gloom. I know these past few episodes have probably not been the best. You probably haven't been super entertained or wanting to be tuning into this channel because it's not fun to cover when they lose over and over again. But we can look at some bright spots in the midst of the chaos. And one of those legitimate bright spots has been the emergence of rookie Asa Newell. And not just in his game. Well, I mean, he's showcased all of the spots of his game that we know could be lethal, but in specific categories. If we look at his elite perimeter shot, like elite outside shot, then we start to really get really excited about Asa Newell's future, and honestly, immediate future, because he's just getting more minutes every single night. And so the Hawks, I mean, they believed they were getting a steal when they traded down in the 2025 NBA draft, and we're gonna relate this in the next segment. So we're kind of strategically adding these segments because we will talk about that trade down specifically in the next segment. They were confident because they still were wanting to take Newell at pick 13, but when they traded down with the New Orleans Pelicans and he was still there, I mean, it was clear that the Hawks had simply just won the draft. Not a lot of people recognize that immediately, but I think us as Hawks fans kind of knew what we were getting because a lot of Hawks fans are Georgia fans, so we watched a lot of Newell last year when he was at UGA. What they didn't anticipate, the people around the league and specifically the Atlanta Hawks, was just how quickly his outside shot would translate, because this wasn't a major part of his game that scouts really kind of explored. Through 20 NBA games, 21 NBA games now for Newell. He leads all rookies in three-point percentage. All rookies. He is number one in three-point percentage, shooting an astounding 51.4% from beyond the arc. I had to update this because I had the numbers ready to go, but I had it at 50%. And then last night he had another remarkable outside shooting night, which I had to update and put 51.4 because his outside shot just continues to get better as the season progresses, which is so remarkable because he wasn't projected to be anywhere near a decent shooter heading into the NBA. He's outperforming the most highly regarded rookie shooters in the league. Guys like Con Knipple, Liam McNeely, or Trey Johnson, or VJ Edgecombe. I mean, guys who were projected to come into the league and just let it fly and be very good out from the outside. Newell has been better than them with his outside shot. And the one that's especially notable and I think just remarkable is that he's ahead of Con Knipple. Considering that Con Knipple has been having a historic rookie season with the Charlotte Hornets. He actually just became the fastest player in NBA history to reach 100 made threes. And it was a record that, I mean, he wasn't even in close to second place. It took him 20 something games. I mean, that's remarkable. That's a record that's not going to be broken for a very long time. But if you look at just simply percentages, Newell is absolutely killing him as an outside shooter. Now, obviously, being fair to Knipple, he's shooting on a much higher volume. But still, stats like that are exciting to see because you see so much, potential that even has yet to be unlocked. Because once Newell gets in a bigger role, inevitably, as his career progresses, this is going to be a valuable part of his game. I mean, it has been more than enough of a sample size to determine that Newell's outside shot is here to stay, and it's going to be probably the biggest asset of his game. And so the reason why there wasn't really a lot of hype for Newell as a shooter entering the NBA was because the percentages didn't reflect any of this outstanding shooting that he has displayed in his rookie season. In his lone season at Georgia, Newell shot just 29.2% from three on 2.7 attempts per game from the outside, but I always said, you'll probably got sick of me hearing it this offseason. I was like, the form is too good, the confidence is too high for Newell to fail as a shooter. Now shooting 51.4% from the outside, I can confidently say that I did not expect, and I don't think anyone did. I expected him to probably shoot like 33, 34%, but I did believe in the shot. I didn't believe in it this much though. I mean, this has really caught me as a surprise. Yeah, like the mechanics were clean, the confidence, and really just the touch. It was all evident, but the shots just weren't going in the basket. And now they are, and it has been incredible to watch, and it's super fun to cover. Because Atlanta didn't draft Newell for his shooting. I mean, they drafted him for his versatility and his defensive potential. Ability to guard multiple positions and his finishing ability. I mean, he was known as like a guy who was going to finish at the rim at a high rate, be a good pick and roll guy, and also have a bit of an underrated handle for a big. That was Newell's draft archetype. But now he's turned into a sharpshooter who can still do all of those things. I mean, his commitment to developing that shot has seriously unlocked a brand new dimension for Quinn Snyder's offense. And with Porzingis, out of the lineup and still recovering from whatever illness he may have, expect Newell to continue receiving minutes like he did last night. I mean, he was the second sub off the bench last night, which that's a development, but it also had to do with the fact that Mo Gay was out. But yeah, he's going to continue to get minutes like he's been getting, and I expect him to keep firing without hesitation. I mean, his form looked so pure last night against the Bulls, which is another reason why I'm so mad we lost, because he killed it. Like in his game, in the minutes that he got, like his impact was undeniable. He was doing things on both ends of the floor, and his three ball was just so incredible. So now moving on to the sorry. Jeez, sorry, I'm like sick. It's December, it's cold. But yeah, moving on to the final segment, which does relate to what we just talked about. I mean, not directly, but semi directly. Let's talk about the 2026 pick that the Hawks have from the New Orleans Pelicans. We've covered it a lot on this channel. We've talked about interesting draft scenarios because it's expected that Atlanta will get a top pick with the rights to the Pelicans pick. It's Atlanta's most valuable asset, really. I mean, if we're talking about legit assets, I think this is probably the best, and it's really one of the best assets in the league, or so it has been looked at. But it's kind of not looking like that in recent days, because if we disregard their loss last night, the New Orleans Pelicans have quietly won. They've quietly been winning. They actually just recently won 5 straight games. They were right there with like the worst teams in the league. But this 5-game winning streak has really separated them from that pack. And they're only getting better as the season progresses and they get their guys healthier. I mean, Zion Williamson recently came back, and pretty soon they'll be getting DeJounte Murray back, although we know DeJounte Murray's impact to winning. I mean, it's not very high, but he's going to be coming back. And as they continue to get healthier and just stay alive, as long as they just don't lose too many games by the time everyone's healthy. I mean, we're looking at a team who could eventually make a play-in push, which would be really deflating to Hawks fans worldwide. They've, after winning 5 games, they've dropped their lottery odds from 1st to 5th, which doesn't look huge on paper, but that is a very, very significant shift. The difference between 3rd and 5th in the lottery is massive. I mean, not just in odds, but in expected player quality. If you have the 3rd best odds in the draft to land the number 1 overall pick, you have a 93% chance of landing a top 6 pick. So like it's pretty much guaranteed that it won't drop too far. But at 5th, the odds of landing a top 5 selection all of a sudden, drop extremely low. It drops to 43%, with 7th overall becoming the most likely outcome if you are 5th. So that would be really disappointing. I mean, we got to be grateful because it is still a pick that we probably should not have. New Orleans still should not have made that trade. But Derek Queen's kind of killing it, and he's looking like a guy who would probably go like top 7 in next year's draft. Even though it's a loaded draft, like Derek Queen has been killing it, and so yeah, like if this does not land in the top 5, we're gonna be in some trouble. The Pelicans have no incentive to tank right now. That's the thing. They don't own their pick because guess whose hands it's in? It's in the Hawks' hands. I mean, they're injured and they're young, but they have some veterans. They're trying to remain competitive. This is not a team who has any sort of incentive to lose. So like they're probably going to be buyers at the trade deadline. I would not be surprised if they took a flyer on one of the guys who's currently on the trade market. I mean, it obviously wouldn't be a guy like Anthony Davis, but maybe some valuable role players and maybe like a disgruntled star. For some reason, they're going gonna probably try to make a move for like a Giannis or someone. It's gonna be something crazy. Like they have no incentive to lose. Meanwhile, though, like teams like the Nets, Pacers, Wizards, they have no incentive to win. They're probably, as the season progresses, just going to fully lean into tanking and trying to land the number one odds in the draft, which it looks like that number one pick is probably going to be AJ DeBonsa. Like we've hyped up Darren Peterson as that number one guy. It's looking like it's going to be DeBonsa just because he has been having a historic collegiate season. I mean, he's 18 years old. He just put up like a 33-point triple-double for BYU the other day. I mean, he's looking like the most polished scorer like we've seen in recent memory in college. So he's probably going to be number one. And if the Pelicans keep winning, the Hawks are not going to have any sort of shot at him. I say that, but the Hawks got the number one pick 2 years ago, even having the 10th best odds. So, I mean, you really don't know how the lottery is going to shake out. And so, yeah. Even one fewer Pelicans win could swing them back into the bottom three. You know, a lot of these teams, they are not very good this year, and so like it's all very close at the bottom. Like, but like that's the thing. Like without the intentional losing, like without the tanking, they're probably just not going to be one of the worst three teams in the NBA. They're likely to drift upward, which would not be a good outcome for Atlanta. So it makes this pick kind of fascinating because it gives us something to track as the season progresses. You know, it's a very rare situation where you see like a team who's trying to contend, well, not contend, but trying to make the playoffs, just have such a bad start to the season. And like, also they usually don't trade away their first round pick, but they did. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff there. So to recap, the Hawks now return to host Miami on Friday. I'll probably be there, searching for answers amid a 4-game losing streak. Getting back on track against a division rival could be very big for the morale and confidence of this team. So whether it's late game execution or front court stability or continued development from their young contributors, this team is seriously at a crossroads. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on the channel. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day, keep you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. Let me know down below in the comments. I mean, what were your thoughts on that Hawks loss last night to the Chicago Bulls, which was their 4th in a row? I mean, seriously, a very deflating one. So let me know all your thoughts down below. Just rant, just use the comment section as therapy. And also, what are your thoughts on the signing of Malik Williams? Do you think eventually he could find himself in the rotation because of the lack of size in Atlanta's front court? What are your thoughts on Asa Newell's rise, just overall, but specifically his 3-point shot? And what are your thoughts on this Pelicans pick? Do you think that Atlanta is going to end up getting like a later lottery pick because the Pelicans just start playing great basketball as the season progresses? I don't know. That would be a horrible outcome, just considering how often we've covered it on the channel and how stacked the top of this draft class is. I don't know. But let me know all your thoughts on that down below. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and I will see you guys next time.